All right, good evening, everybody. Good evening. Welcome to your first day of studying for arguably the best rank on the entire job. Every day, this is my normal class, Monday class. I teach Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Monday in Valley Stream, Tuesday in the Bronx, and Wednesday in Brooklyn at St. Finbar. Those are my three normal classes. I only teach at night, so it is not uncommon that you'll feel certain fraternal connection to one of your instructors, whether it's me or George or Jimmy Shea. It's fine. It is good to see other instructors so you get a feel of how people teach. So today is the only day that this class is going to be here. Otherwise, we're going to move about 2 miles down the road. It's at VFW Post 1790. That's 65 East Merrick Road, Valley Stream. You go out to 7-Eleven, go down a couple lights and make a left. It's very, very close. Today will be the only class that's here. So the day class and the night class on Mondays are both going to be at that VFW post. They're going to put it on the video for you. Also, in a week, the website information is going to change so that it'll reflect the proper address. Okay, so you're studying for lieutenants the first day. Welcome, everybody. It is arguably the best rank on the job. The only reason why you take the sergeant's exam is to take the lieutenant's exam. If you're going to go beyond lieutenant, that's a personal choice between you and your family, but there's no reason to take the sergeant's exam unless you're planning on taking the lieutenant's exam. So this is a rank that you achieve to get, and then if you're young enough on the job and you want to go on, you take captain, it's great. The room looks very young, so presumably a lot of you are coming off the last sergeant's exam. As a matter of business, I never ask who's taking the lieutenant's exam and not passed, who's fresh off the last sergeant's exam. Maybe somebody took an old sergeant's exam and they've been a sergeant for a while. That's what I did. I didn't take a couple exams. I was a sergeant for 10 years. I really enjoyed it. So I missed a couple lieutenant's exams intentionally. When I had enough of sergeants that were not up to par, I said enough is enough and I took the lieutenant's exam. So just a couple of words about how I teach so that you know what to expect when you come to the class Monday nights. Pretty much I stick to the lesson plan. I'm not a big war story guy. I do teach by way of scenario though. So oftentimes I will teach it right out of the packet without even reading the packet. So we could just talk about how to do it, particularly when we get to juveniles, particularly when we get to department vehicle collisions. The idea is to just know that rote, like your 2 times table. So oftentimes I'll just teach it to you and then we'll go back over it. And when we go back over it, it'll sound familiar. All right, so not a lot of war stories. I don't detour a lot. I pretty much stay to the lesson plan. I do teach scenario based, I said. So it's anybody can read words left to right, but based on my experience, what I try to do is give you some options about what it might look like on a test, right? It's not just to know enough to know the fact. You have to the negative, what it won't look like and what it will look like. There are many, many examples across the patrol guide where questions are worded a certain way. It's your second time around, right? Presumably you took one sergeant's exam and passed it. I never ask. But either way, my point is it's the second time, it's the second rank you're studying for. So you understand how to study, how to organize yourself. I'm going to give you a couple of tips along the way of things that I did. Do them, don't do them. It's entirely up to you, just what worked for me. Primarily, I'll just give you one right out of the gate. All my actors are a different color. I had a specific color highlighter. I used orange or green, and every time I changed actors in a procedure, I just highlighted the actor so that you know when you're studying in a linear way down the page, you know when you're going from UMOS to patrol supervisor to platoon commander, and it helps you make the separation in your mind. Otherwise, you start to commingle the actors, and you can't remember who did what or where the line was. It's just a good visual way to see it. Don't lose points on acronyms. Don't lose points on acronyms. Once you get an acronym, you write it down. Go right back to the beginning when you were studying for sergeant. Get yourself index cards. Write all the acronyms down on the index cards. Write the answers down on the back, which is a good way for you not to waste time when you're in your orthodontist office with your kid. You can just take your index cards and go around them. And just keep flipping them and flipping it. Everything. Contraband weapons, must suspend. This whole book is filled with acronyms. John has come up with some pretty clever ones, and it helps you remember what you're doing. Also, I don't know when the last time was that you studied, but you have to get back to the habits that worked for you. If you have to know what kind of learner you are. If you're an auditory learner and you just play the videos over and over and over again in your head. I was a writer. right? I wrote everything over and over again. By the time I was done studying, I had stacks of legal pads, and I would just write the procedure out longhand. Repetition is retention. There are a lot of other schools out there, not many, a couple, but the way the Key teaches primarily is through the Socratic method, which is what law schools still use, and it's repetition, repetition, repetition. Whatever suits your palate. There are other schools that do like word finds and you know, crossword puzzles. If that floats your boat, fine. But the time-tested tactic, the time-tested method of retention is the Socratic teaching method, which is repetition, repetition, repetition. And you'll see when I get to a particularly important spot in a lesson or something statistically over the years that's been repeated over and over again on tests, I'll stay on it for a long time. I'll stay on it for a long time because I want you to remember it. Each one of you is important to me that you pass. If this is going to be my steady class, I take a vested interest in you and I want you to pass. I'm available to answer questions and things like that. Just a couple of rules. You're going to see me around, so have a little situational awareness. There have been many times where I'm talking to chiefs by the elevator and somebody runs up and says, I got a question about number 35. That's not really the right time. Less of an issue with the sergeants. It is an issue with young cops who are studying for the first time, and there are no boundaries. They just run right up to you. I got accosted at a gas pump. I almost got into a fight. I thought I was getting attacked from behind when I'm gassing up the R&P, and 3 plainclothes people ran up to me and said, I need to know about question 16. Meanwhile, this was like 6 months into the course. I don't know what question 16 they were talking about, and I almost jumped out of my shoes. So less of a problem with the bosses, just have a little situational awareness. If you see me, take a look at who I'm speaking to first. Maybe it's not the best time to run up, but otherwise, generally I'm always available to you. I do like to run into the students. Just to start out, I told you I very rarely go off the lesson plan. I believe in sticking to the lesson plan. I only do it a couple of times, and the first day is one of those times. The first day of class is one of those times when I talk to you for a few minutes before I start. So a funny thing happened the other day where I was driving in a unmarked car, and I was at a random intersection in Brooklyn at a red light, and somebody's aggressively beeping the horn next to me, and I don't want to get involved in anything. I have the windows up. I'm just like, I don't want to talk. I said, did I cut this kid off? I don't know. And he's beeping the horn, beeping the horn, beeping the horn. So I roll the window down, prepared to get into like a road rage incident, and the kid yells to me through the window, I'm listening to you right now. You're in the car right now. I'm listening to you, and then I look up and I see you, and it was epiphanal for him, which was great, but it scared the crap out of me. So. All right, so yeah, just have a little situational awareness. From sergeant to lieutenant, it's less of an issue because, you know, sergeants are a little more mature. They have a little more wherewithal about their surroundings, but I'm delighted to meet all of you out there. Just keep in mind, I'm not going to remember everybody because, you know, in the school, in the class, I'm the focal point, but I look out across, I'm not going to remember everybody. All right, so don't be insulted if I don't remember you. All right, so know what kind of learner you are. If you had tactics and techniques that help you pass the sergeant exam, go back to them. Don't stick your toe in the water. Go back in headlong. Go to Staples, get your assorted highlighters, get different color pens, whatever makes sense to you. People are imperfect. The people that run the school are imperfect. The people that run every other school are imperfect, okay? If you find a typo in the packet, it's not the end of the world. It happens. Sometimes we correct them along the way. All right, we'll tell you in the class, go fix number 3, question number 3, and fix it. Okay, it happens. So we're going to get started right away with operations coordinator. All the stuff in the beginning of the packet that John put in there about test-taking tactics, it's all fascinating. He does a statistical breakdown of where they've gone on the last test. Now, everybody complains about the test. Are they going to be straight down the pipe? Are they going to be straight down the pipe? The sergeants had nothing to complain about. The last couple of sergeants exams were right down the pipe. The last 2 lieutenants exams were absolute verifiable abortions. The only thing that was worse than the 2011 exam was the 2015 exam. 2011 exam, half the test was not patrol guide. It was misappropriated toilet paper, crying PAAs. It was an absolute disaster, the 2011 exam. 2015, you had that horrible guy writing the exam. Everybody heard about that by now. So, and the captain's exam in 2014 was also right down the pipe. So really the sergeants and the captains had pretty straight, legitimate tests. The lieutenants, no such luck. 15 tests was absolutely horrible. They went to a lot of operations orders. There's an issue with operations orders. I don't know if you're aware of it, right? Once they issue an operations order, technically, that operations order expires in a year. Not a calendar year, but a year from when it's issued. So you issue something October 15th, 2016, theoretically, by October 15th, 2017, it's supposed to be defunct, or it's supposed to be put into the patrol guide or put in as an interim order. So on the last lieutenant's exam, the writer of the exam went back to a lot of old operations orders. There was some debate over that. So it was a mess. And the exam before that didn't test the patrol guide. It had an in-basket, and it had like 52 questions that just wanted to know what you think. Including giving days off. I don't know who took the 2011 exam, including giving days off when it said absolutely not. This is what you had to deal with, right? You had a finest printout on the desk that said absolutely no excusals because of expected details. Then you had a note from the CO. This was in one of the questions. You had a note from the CO that said absolutely nobody gets off without confirming it through me first. And then the very next question was somebody calling up saying that they needed a day because their kid was sick. And on DCAS said the answer was given the day, despite the finest printout that said no excusals and the note from the CO. And they wanted you to deduce, because you're a great person, that this kid really needed the day. So you supersede the finest memo and you supersede the CO's memo and give the kid the day off. I mean, this is the kind of stuff they had to deal with. Misappropriated toilet paper, where you go to the restroom and there's no toilet paper in the restroom and you're complaining out loud. This was in the body of the question. You're complaining out loud as the desk officer, a lieutenant, that why is there never toilet paper? And a female cop confides in you that there's a female that steals all the toilet paper and brings it downstairs into the locker room. And what do you do about that? Now, she didn't steal the toilet paper, right? Because if she brought it out of the command, that's the easy one, right? That's IAB notification. So she was hoarding it and putting it downstairs in the female bathroom because she feels that the females are never well taken care of. And what do you do with that? I mean, these are the type of questions that you were getting. So there really is no right answer for that. And that's what made it particularly difficult. There are thousands of people that take, about 2,600 people or so take the lieutenant's exam. 2,650, I think, took the 2011 exam. 183 passed on the raw score. The 15 exam was similar, and even less people passed it, which tells you there's something wrong with what they're doing here. In the 2011 exam, there was 20 changes, 19 or 20 changes. And what does that say about you as an agency? If you're DCAS, your job is to write a promotional exam, and you're admitting that 20% of your exam is flawed. You have a job to write a 100-question exam. 20% of it is flawed. Think about what kind of reaction you would get from your CO. If he said, can you do this job? And say, yes, I'm only going to do 80% of it right. I'm going to mess up 20% of it. So their job as an agency was to write a promotional exam, and they admitted that 20% of the exam was flawed. It was an absolute nightmare. So by all accounts, everybody says the next lieutenant's exam, they don't want to suffer any embarrassment. That'll be right down the pipe. And anybody that swears to you from any school, anybody that swears to you that they know that it's going to be a great exam, nobody knows. Nobody knows, I'm telling you right now. So anybody who claims to know doesn't know. Yeah, we hope that it's a straight down the pipe exam. That comes as a double-edged sword, right? 2006 lieutenant's exam was the last one that was right down the pipe. If you studied, you did well. It was very tough, but very fair. Asked a lot of operational patrol guide questions, and as a result, what happened? 1,450 people passed that exam. So 70 wasn't good enough because they cut the list at like 700. They just said, we're done making people. 700 people died on that list, half the list. So there's good and bad. If it's a straightforward exam and you study and you do well, there's a lot of people who are going to pass. There's going to be a lot of people on it. There's nothing to say that they have to make all those people. So they cut the exam. Half the 2006 exam died on the list. 600 and something people, almost 700 people. 2011 was a nightmare. They had to throw out 19 questions, or change 19 questions to put 661 people on the list. The 15 exam was even worse, and the guy who wrote the exam, that awful captain, went down to DCAS and threw the gauntlet down and tried to defend every question, and they had to even throw out 4 or 5 questions in order to get 332 people on the list because it was so tight. So here we are now. Right? For those of you who failed the last exam, this timing is quite fortuitous. You don't have to wait too long to take it again, right? You don't have to wait too long. Okay, so we hope that the exam is right down the pipe. Nobody really knows. Okay, and that's about the end of my story. Pretty much from here on in, I stay on the lesson and we learn it in a when the opportunity arises, I give you a situational scenario that you may encounter on the test. Okay, so all the stuff that John put in the beginning of the packet, it's all great. Read the test taking tactics, but since we're getting a late start, I really don't have time to go through it, even though the information is fascinating. So read it all, okay? It's a good step back into studying and teach you how to study. All right, so let's start with page 14. We're gonna start with page 14, which is Operations Coordinator. Okay, so remember, next week it's at the VFW down the block, not here. Okay, Operations Coordinator, this is 20211. The date on this procedure is February 2nd, 2017. Now you'll see in a lot of the actors, that date is there, 2/2/17. And the reason why that was done is because the new way that the monthly evaluations are done, there's no more monthly impact measurement report, right? So because that changed, and we'll get into it when we do that lesson, there's a couple of notes on it in this packet, but when we do that lesson, we'll get into it. But because the officers' monthly reporting of their activity has changed, it touches so many procedures. So all those procedures, the new date on them is 2/2/17. So this date is 2/2/17, February 2nd, 2017, and that's only because of these changes to the way the officers report their activity. There's a new automated system. When we get to it in a few weeks, we'll go over it. So 20211, Operations Coordinator, we use the correct language, right? Not Admin Lieutenant. You study the correct language. So there is no Admin Lieutenant. It's called the Operations Coordinator. You will never see Admin Lieutenant on an exam. They only refer to him or her as Operations Coordinator. So you perform duty in uniform as part of the administrative staff. You assist the CO. CO sets your tours. No patrol, no desk. You report to the desk officer at the start of your tour for entry in the command log as present. Everybody remembers the big FLSA lawsuit where supervisors were signing in an hour early and they say, well, I'm here. They went back and they copied down all those times that they signed in, and the city had to do a big settlement. So now you don't even sign yourself in. You have to stand before the desk, and the desk officer from the previous tour signs you in. So let's just cut to the chase with that, right? This way we can read it and we'll understand it for every actor. Every single sergeant and lieutenant in the command stands before the desk, and the desk signs them in at the start of their tour, except for two people, okay? And that's the FIO. The FIO signs himself in, and the ICO, and nobody signs the ICO in. There is nothing in the ICO on the patrol guide that says sign in anywhere. ICOs don't sign in. So every other supervisor, anti-crime, training sergeant, whoever it is, platoon commander, if you're studying for lieutenant's exam, these are your peers. The SOL comes in on a 4 to 12. He stands before the desk officer, even if the desk officer is a sergeant, right? Don't get lulled into this false rank thing where I outrank this person so I can come behind the desk. It's not rank specific because the duty is the desk officer's duty, who might be a sergeant. So even if you're SOL coming in for a 4 to 12, you stand before the desk and the desk officer signs you in at the start of your tour. Okay, but you sign out in the command log. Okay, so you sign in and out in the command log if you're going out for any reason your tour. So you're present for tour, the desk officer signs you in. When you're going out to go to a community meeting, you sign out and then back in the command log. You sign out, end of tour in the command log. Some reports, you maintain and review records and files of the command, ensure proper maintenance of the subpoena receipt book, assign communications equally among sergeants. That is a prior test question on the lieutenant's exam. You apportion communications equally among the sergeants. Prepare written instructions for sergeants and cops. Supervise maintenance of the command library. The command library is maintained by the training sergeant, but he reports to you. He or she reports to you. Review 61s with the planning officer, right? We're going to talk about the planning officer in a second. And OMAP and determine priority crime locations. Cross out that thing that says CAPS. Just cross it out. That's no longer valid. So review 61s with the planning officer and OMAP to determine priority crime locations. Notify borough or bureau safety coordinator for hazards that command personnel can't fix. Ensure 28 to submit at least 5 days in advance, and the location during absence caption is completed, including foreign countries. When we do the 28s, when we do the location during absence, that is a horribly written procedure. So I'll save it for when we cover that part of the patrol guide. Terribly written procedure. Okay? Ensure timekeeper puts foreign countries in a database. Do monthly inspection to ensure and access database to verify that entries are being made correctly by the timekeeper. Supervision. Supervise command staff and ensure that they're in uniform and performing a necessary function. Supervise the principal. Supervise custodians and coordinate with facilities management to ensure staffing levels are maintained. You fill vacancies and ensure deficiencies in cleanliness are ID'd. And facilities management section is apprised of matters of importance regarding cleanliness so issues can be expeditiously mitigated. That is a Commissioner Bratton thing when they around and cleaned all the commands. They put that line in there. So it's new. It's not brand new, but it's a couple of years old about this coordinating with facilities management. Supervise or designate a boss to supervise the evidence property control specialist, who you know is a civilian. Okay, and you will designate a UMOS to be the evidence property control specialist when the evidence property control specialist is on vacation or sick or whatever. Supervise election details, specifically the duty of the operations coordinator. Supervise or monitor training sergeant to ensure MOS get necessary training. Keep sergeants informed of command conditions. Supervise crime analysis sergeant and traffic safety sergeant. Ensure all MOS and command are working in the proper chart. Check property invoice books and property on hand. Ensure the security of lead seals, plastic security envelopes, and narcotic envelopes prior to issuance. Daily check the command log for vouchered property and fixed conditions that impair transfer of property stored over 30 days. Notify XOCO if found. So 2 things about that. Number 1, the operations coordinator doesn't make an entry. It says check the command log. It doesn't say make an entry. We're going to find the same with the ICO. You watch the actionable verb. Ensure, sign, all those things, right? There's an actionable verb about what you're doing. Okay, so this says ensure, right? Daily check command log for vouchered property and fixed conditions that would impair transfer of property stored over 30 days. Notify XOCO. Very rarely do you see XOCO. It's XO first, deals with the property. Okay, so when it comes down to property being stored over 30 days, right, and it says expeditiously fixed conditions that impair delivery, again, how will that look on an exam? It could be something as mundane as a flat tire. Why is this stuff here more than 30 days? There's a flat tire on the van. Fix the flat tire, right? They're not going to say on an exam, expeditiously fixed, blah, blah, blah. They're going to give you a scenario about why it's not done. The evidence property control specialist is out sick. Well, did anybody let me know that? Right? Assign somebody, have them transported. Why isn't this stuff transferred? There's a flat tire on the property van, right? Then you instruct the desk officer, right? You can delegate. Instruct the desk officer to have the van fixed immediately and transport the property. Is that or is that not expeditiously fixing it? It is. Okay, so you have to look for stuff like that on the exam. Very rarely do they use the straight up words from the patrol guide. Everything on the exam is scenario based. So how will it look, right? Okay, so when it says that this procedure is dated 2/2/17, write this on the bottom of the page. See there's a little blank there, a little blank space? 2 duties for the operations coordinator. File copies of officer profile reports. That's brand new. That is, by the way, that is the February 2nd, 2017 change. So one of their duties, the operations coordinator, is file copies of officer profile reports. Just write it in longhand, just so you have it and it's there. File copies of officer profile reports. Okay, and then the next line, write, ensure supervisors' quarterly evaluations are finalized by the 15th of the month. Okay, just the way John has the bullets there, just write 2 additional bullets. 1 is file copies of officer profile reports. And then the next bullet is ensure supervisors' quarterly evaluations are finalized by the 15th of the month. Okay, the little box on the side, snow removal equipment, it is a step 25 for the operations coordinator. Survey snow blowers, snow shovels, and de-icing rock salt stuff by September 15th. Get replacement equipment if necessary. And then you supervise the fire extinguisher inspection. You don't do it, but you supervise it. You staff it out. Okay, so you observe that it's done by an MOS that you assign it to, and you make a command log entry that it's done. That's January and July. So January and July, operations coordinator supervised the fire extinguisher inspection. It's not profound. They very rarely go there, but either way, just know it. Okay, let's go to page 15. Operations coordinator continued. Training, prepare summary of department orders for presentation to MOS and the command. To the training sergeant, relay instructions of CO to MOS and the command, supplement instructions of the desk officer to outgoing platoons when the CO is absent. Not always, when the CO is absent. So that's qualified. The way I highlight is I highlight the qualified statement. So monitor training sergeant and relay, monitor training sergeant is a sentence. That's it. That's freestanding. You don't monitor the training sergeant when the CO is out. Monitor the training sergeant is a sentence. That's it. And then the second sentence is relay instructions of CO to MOS and the command, okay, when the CO is not present. Supplement instructions, desk officer to outgoing platoon when the CO is not present. Coordinate human relations program, close liaison with Borough Community Affairs coordinator, chief of community affairs, coordinate command safety programs like OSHA. Who coordinates the command safety programs? OSHA. Okay, so the training, there's a couple of things in here that say training that sound like the training sergeant, but they're not. Sergeant, relay instructions of CO to MOS and the command, supplement instructions to the desk officer to outgoing platoon when CO is absent. When CO is absent. Odds and ends. Ensure firearm safety station is appropriately located. Consider safety factors at location. No distractions, people, etc. It should be someplace that's safe. Ensure it's free of debris, right? You don't want coffee cups in there. Okay, and also it's the operations coordinator job to make sure the gun safety stickers are affixed to it. Recommend redeployment if necessary to the COXO or the desk officer, platoon commander, right? Ascertain current list of restaurants to feed prisoners is at the desk with hours and the costs. Send court appearances through desk officer, liaison with DA to reduce RDO court and coordinate overtime programs. Coordinate overtime programs reeks of the ICO. And it's not the ICO. Right away you think overtime ICO, not necessarily. You coordinate overtime programs, that is the job of the operations coordinator. Coordinate overtime programs. Inspect command daily and put results in the command log in a command log entry. So you are making an entry there. Who else is inspecting the command daily? The desk officer. So theoretically, technically on exam day, there should be 2 entries about the cleanliness of the command. It should be the desk officer, which we'll get to in a little while, goes around and makes sure there's no obscene material, make sure that you can't see into the girls' bathroom. We'll cover that also. And they make an entry in the command log that they did it. Also, the operations coordinator does it. Inspect command daily, put results in the command log entry, that it's clean, secure, no offensive material. So they have 2 people checking. The desk officer and the operations coordinator, they must really want the bathroom doors to work, and they must really not want any like racy pictures up on the wall. 2 people are doing it. 2 people. Personally inspect youth room, the juvenile room, and note results in above daily command log entry. Ensure posters reporting corruption and misconduct and corruption tears apart are conspicuously posted in non-public areas of the command. Non-public areas of the command. Ensure free interpretation sign is displayed in reception area and handset is operational. Interview civilians and civic organizations when the COXO are absent. Request the CO, represent the CO, at meetings within the command when designated. Okay, let's move on to 20212, Special Operations Lieutenant. Perform tours approved by the CO. Maximize supervision of your subordinate personnel. Report to the desk at the start of your tour. Again, every supervisor says this except for the FIO and the ICO. Every supervisor says report to the desk. Every supervisor, sergeant and lieutenant. Obviously not captain above. So every supervisor, sergeant and lieutenant, report to the desk for entry by the desk officer of the previous tour. I'm present for duty. At the present of duty, right? At present for duty, except the FIO and the ICO, the only 2 that don't. So every other actor that's a supervisor, it's going to say, report to desk officer at start of tour when you're present for duty, okay? But you make your own end of tour entry. When practical, work in uniform, sign in and out of the command log if you're going out during a tour for any reason. personally reserve conditions in the command, and monitor field performance of subordinates. Okay, records. Monthly inspect and sign activity logs of sergeants and anti-crime SNU, school safety and peddler details. Review and sign police officer profile report, right? This is the thing that used to be called police officers monthly impact measurement, whatever. It's no longer called that, okay? We'll get into that headlong when we do that lesson that week, but for now, just take the reference of the correct title. The correct title is officer profile report. Confer with detail sergeants as necessary and deliver to ops lieutenant within 7 days following the end of the month. Weekly review and approve subordinate work schedules. Go to page 16. Annually, do evaluations for supervisors under your direct control. Be knowledgeable in orders and procedures. Test subordinates. Inspect records and logs of subordinate units and members. Supervise. Coordinate crime prevention programs. Supervise and coordinate specialized personnel. School safety sergeant, anti-crime supervisor, SNU, crime prevention officer, youth officer, auxiliary police coordinator, peddler enforcement, domestic violence sergeant, right? Okay, so who sets the traffic safety sergeant's tours? The CO, right? But he reports to the special ops lieutenant. Okay, liaison with New York State Office of Victim Services and other state, city victim advocacy agencies. Ensure APO coordinator recruits new auxiliary police officers, conducts courses to train them, and keeps them equipped. Use auxiliary police officers in command problem solving. Keep CO informed of all auxiliary activities. Meetings. Maintain contact with community associations, civic groups, and principals of local schools. Attend community board and community council meetings at the direction of the CO. Attend public meetings at which subordinates speak. Confer regularly with command detective squad commander to share information. Yeah, right. Encourage exchange of information between detective squad and specialized units. Confer regularly with platoon commanders regarding conditions within the command. Encourage exchange between specialized units and platoons. Be cognizant of community crime trends and quality of life conditions, allocating resources to address them. Ensure school safety sergeant and youth officer maintain contact with schools. In conjunction with the CO, be the problem-solving coordinator. Remember, the CO is the senior problem-solving coordinator. Steps to problem solving, identify, analyze, design, implement, and evaluate. Every single promotional school has been scaring the shit out of students for years with that acronym. The truth is, they rarely ever ask it. Probably some chief who wrote that 17 years ago is now retired. They thought it was a great thing to put in patrol guide. I personally have never seen that on an exam. That acronym, it's an acronym, right? IADI, everybody goes crazy remembering that. Identify, analyze, design, implement, evaluate. I have no personal recollection of that ever being tested. But promotional schools have been scaring students about it for years. Oh my God, you got to remember that? I personally do not remember that ever being asked, but it's an easy acronym, so just remember it. Platoon commander, again, the date on the procedure is 2/2/17, and that's because of the change in the COPS monthly evaluation, monthly impact measurement report. They no longer call it that. Platoon commander, report to desk at the start of your tour for present for duty entry in the command log, but you make your own end of tour entry. Responsible for all command operations during the tour. If you're in a patrol bureau precinct, you are the desk officer and will remain at the desk. If non-patrol, this includes PSAs and transit district, you may routinely go out under the following step 26. Perform tours as designated by the CO. Divide time equally between patrol and the station house, okay? So in 20213, step 1B says the lieutenant platoon commander will not ordinarily perform duties of the patrol supervisor. It doesn't say never. So basically, instead of reading all this text, blah, 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 what it really means is, if you're in a patrol precinct, you are the desk officer. That's it. Unless, okay? So, instead of reading all this, let me just explain to you the way it works so you'll be able to spot it on an exam. If there's only 2 supervisors working, let's say for the purposes of my argument, you are the platoon commander, and there's only 1 sergeant, you are the desk officer. You don't have a choice, okay? However it's done in your command every day, you need to divorce yourself from that. So if you come in right now, in your command, wherever you work right now, and the platoon commander goes, do you want to stay in or go out, to the sergeant? And you, the platoon commander, goes, I'll go out, you stay in, not allowed. Flatly not allowed. If there's 1 lieutenant and 1 sergeant, The sergeant is the patrol supervisor. You are the desk officer. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. That's it. Okay? The only way, right? You could read all this crap, or I could just explain it to you. The only way that you get out is if there's two sergeants working. Two sergeants, right? You need two patrol supervisors. Now, the book is very clear about this. If you go back and read it, it says, it doesn't say the 4 hours and 30 minutes that the training sergeant needs to dedicate to patrol functions. Remember that from 100 years ago when you studied? Training sergeant has to dedicate 4 hours and 30 minutes of his or her time to patrol functions. It doesn't say that. It doesn't say another supervisor. It says if there's two patrol supervisors, one can be designated as the desk officer, and you can go out on patrol. In a patrol command, if there's only two bosses working, a lieutenant and a sergeant, you are automatically the desk officer as a lieutenant. That's it. Period. End of story. If there's two patrol supervisors, you could still opt to be the desk officer. And then when it comes down to meal relief, right, same thing, right? There are many other sergeants in the command, right? So there's domestic violence sergeant. There's a crime analysis sergeant, right? There's a school safety sergeant. All these sergeants are around. This is true, right? So if there's more than one patrol supervisor, the other patrol supervisor will relieve you for meal. Okay, now what happens every day in your command doesn't make a difference. This is the way it's written. So another supervisor, it's important to talk about this only once, because once we go over it once, you won't forget it. If there are other supervisors working, one can relieve you for meal. But like in an in-basket scenario, just stay with me for a second. In an in-basket scenario where there's a school safety sergeant working and a DV sergeant working, two patrol supervisors, and you're on the desk as the lieutenant, your first selection to relieve you for meal should be the other patrol supervisor. Okay, because it says go to the other patrol supervisor first, okay? And if no one else is available, then, right, while the other patrol supervisor is still out driving around and you need a meal as the desk officer lieutenant, then you can go to the training sergeant, the domestic violence sergeant. Okay, it's very, very subtle, but it's important to bring it up because on a test day, if they give you Sergeant A, Sergeant B, Sergeant C, Sergeant D, and A, B, and C are other sergeants in the command, crime analysis, school safety, DV, but Sergeant D is the second patrol supervisor, and it says, often it says, which of the following is the best choice, the most correct to relieve you for meal? It's going to be the other patrol supervisor. Now, if there's only one patrol supervisor, they won't ask that question because it never prioritizes the other three. So if there's a school safety sergeant, a training sergeant, and a DV sergeant, any of those sergeants can relieve you for meal on the desk. But if there is a second patrol supervisor, it specifically says the second patrol supervisor is supposed to relieve you for meal. Now, understanding that, what if the second patrol supervisor is busy? So our other three supervisors are available, right? It's important to talk about this just once, and then you'll remember. A, B, and C, right? Crime analysis, school safety, domestic violence. Those three supervisors are available. There is another patrol supervisor, but right now they're out on an RMP collision, acting as the investigating supervisor. And you need to take a meal? That person is not available now. So now you can revert back to the other three who are equal under the procedure, okay? So it's very easy to understand. Don't worry about PSA or transit because you won't get that on an exam. You'll be in a patrol precinct and they'll say there's only two of you working. You're the lieutenant, you're the sergeant. It's not up to you to say, I'll be the patrol supervisor. Because ordinarily, right, in step 1B, it says ordinarily the platoon commander will not be assigned as the patrol supervisor. Assigned as the patrol supervisor. So if it's only you and another sergeant working, you are the desk officer. And that's what all this text, even in the key packet or in the patrol guide, all that text, that's what it's trying to tell you. There's only two of you, you are automatically the desk officer. No choice in the matter. If there's two sergeants working, one can opt to be the desk officer. You can go out. Now there's a lieutenant and a sergeant out on patrol, but even when you go out on patrol, you are not the patrol supervisor. You're 6'9" lieutenant, 7'5" lieutenant. You don't answer the radio. You will not be assigned 6'9" patrol supervisor on the air. That's not you, okay? Now, there's not an ironclad prohibition against it because 1B says ordinarily you will not be assigned as the patrol supervisor, okay? So there must be some scenario when it's okay. However, the patrol guide never lays it out. So as far as you're concerned, as a lieutenant, you are not the patrol supervisor. If there is a patrol supervisor driving around, then you're 6'9" lieutenant. There still is a 6'9" patrol supervisor, okay? Understand? Very, very important. If there's only two of you, a lieutenant and a sergeant, you are automatically the desk officer. Period. End of story. It's not your choice. Okay? And when it comes down to relieving you for meal, if there's two patrol supervisors, that's your first choice. If there's not two patrol supervisors, then any of those other sergeants in the command can relieve you for meal. And as you know, cops will never be assigned to the desk. If you don't know that, I don't know how you got here, right? You're a supervisor, so you know that already going in, right? We know that, right? Not even to go to the bathroom, you can't leave a cop on the desk. So these little points are important, right? And there's tons of text in the patrol guide about it. There's tons of text in the key packet about it, but that's what it means, okay? One lieutenant, one sergeant, you will not be the patrol supervisor. You will not even go out. One lieutenant, one sergeant, you're the desk officer, period. Okay? So that's what all this text means. Okay, so having said that, you could skip right down to all platoon commanders. All platoon commanders perform duty in uniform, report to desk at the start of your tour entry, right, for entering the command log, sign command log entry at end of tour, supervise and review actions of patrol supervisor and ensure compliance with department policies and procedures. Participate as a member of the precinct management team, maintain activity log, and maintain entries listing assignment, name, time, and location of members visited. Inspect and sign activity logs of patrol supervisors daily. Daily. Now stop, go back to a minute to the SOL. He has sergeants also. Anti-crime supervisor, peddler supervisor. How often is he signing them? Monthly. You're the platoon commander. How often are you signing the patrol supervisors? Every day. Every day you sign the patrol supervisors. Identify conditions to be addressed by members working platoon on a continuing basis. Ensure radio transmissions affecting command are monitored at all times. Allocate based on conferral with Special Operations Lieutenant all resources available for the platoon, including peddler personnel, anti-crime, and SNU. Advise and confer with the following on matters of mutual importance or unusual arrests or whatever. COXO, Operations Coordinator, Detective Squad Commander, RAM Commander, and previous tour platoon commander or patrol supervisor. SOL about command, crimes, and conditions. Confer with ICOPS, right? Integrity issues. Confer with the ICO about integrity issues. CCRBs, overtime concerns, personnel sick records. No one's going to drop down an exam because those are all the normal things that you would confer with the ICO about, right? Confer with the ICO about what? Integrity issues, CCRB, overtime concerns, personnel, sick records, okay? Adjacent command, platoon commanders about coordinating crime strategies. As the platoon commander, I don't know how you get anything done because all you're doing is conferring all day, okay? Go to page 18. We're still on platoon commander, right? This is what I do. If it helps you, write the actor on the top so when you happen to open the book randomly to that page, you know that you're still on platoon commander. So right across the top, platoon commander continued, 202.13. Roll call. At the beginning of tour, cause adjustments to be made on the roll call. Isn't that great? You don't make the adjustments. You cause adjustments to be made. You cause adjustments. You just torture the desk officer and be like, yeah, that person's riding with that person. I'm taking that guy to drive me. This RMP's out of service. And then you walk away. Isn't that great? That's why it's the greatest rank on the job. You don't have to do anything. You just cause adjustments to be made. You go into the little special SP9 room behind the desk where the brand new desk sergeant's there sweating, trying to make adjustments without messing up the roll call. You walk in and drop a bomb on him. I'm taking that guy's riding with that guy, this person's not going in the car because I'm mad at him, and this person has to leave early. And that's it. You drop the mic and walk out. That's why it's great to be a platoon commander. Okay? So cause adjustments at the beginning of tour. Schedule meals, making sure supervisors on duty at all times. That's common sense. Grant tour changes and excuses as appropriate. At roll call, supervise roll call. Who conducts roll call? The desk officer, right? It's been a while since you studied, right? No matter what they say, patrol supervisor, desk officer, platoon commander, right? Second supervisor. They give a lot of roles, right? It says patrol supervisor, conduct roll call if requested by the desk officer. Platoon commander, supervise roll call. The desk officer conducts roll call, okay? Now think about this as a throwback to the 70s and the 80s. They used to call everybody to attention, right? Right face. Everybody used to walk in front of the desk, and the desk officer didn't come around to the muster room, right? Listen, it's classical, but this exists in the book because of this reason. They used to march the entire platoon out in front of the desk. Everybody would stand at attention in front of the desk or in front of the station house. That's the way it used to be done in the summertime. And the desk officer would stand up from behind the desk. He didn't come around. He stood up at the desk, or she stood up at the desk and just read the assignments and then dismissed people. Okay? So this is a classic throwback, and it's still in the book to this day. Right? So desk officer conducts roll call. Platoon commander supervises roll call. Personally inspect the outgoing platoon. Instruct and question members regarding command conditions. Designate a supervisor to conduct a platoon briefing. Ensure members are familiar with integrity concerns. Ensure platoon personnel are supervised properly and performing adequately. Evaluate effectiveness of assignments. Inspect the facility each tour and put the results in the command log. How many people now inspecting the facility? That's 3 now we're up to, right? The desk does it. SOL. No, not the SOL. Operations. Operations does it, and now the platoon commander does it. That's 3 people making sure that the girls' bathroom door is not broken and there's no Victoria's Secret model catalogs up. 3 people walking around to make sure that's done now. Okay? And 3 command log entries. How many command log entries a day making sure that the command is clean, there's no offensive material, and nobody can see into the girls' bathroom? 3 separate people, 3 separate entries. Okay, so personnel. Interview those unsatisfactorily performing duty. Review discipline records of platoon, MOS, CCRB, and your Central Personnel Index. Responsible for early intervention monitoring for members of the platoon. Just highlight that one line, right? It could be just that simple. Who's responsible for early intervention monitoring for platoon members of platoon? Platoon commander. Prepare subordinate supervisor evaluations. Conduct return from sick interviews with members of the platoon. Evaluate training needs. Confer with the training sergeant as required. Recommend MOS for special training for proper running of platoon, fingerprint, whatever. Responsible for entries in the online complaint system during the tour. Investigate communications and perform self-inspections as per the CO. Ensure sergeants properly and accurately complete self-inspections, communications, and reports. Who assigns the communications? Operations coordinator, right? Prior exam question, right? Operations coordinator. Equally apportion communications and self-inspections out to sergeants, right? After he does that or she does that, then it's the platoon commander to make sure that they're being done properly. First platoon, review reports and forms prepared for the previous 24 hours. Second platoon, be responsible for maintenance and weekly inspections of RMPs. All right, go to page 19. All right, we're going to start with the ICO. So before we do that, we're going to talk a minute about pay detail. Pay detail, one major thing. So before we read this, I like to explain it to you so you understand it as a concept, and then it will make sense to you when you read it. 2 people check out the pay detail unit. Who's working pay detail? One is the platoon commander, and the other one is the ICO. The platoon commander is all about safety. Who's working, print it out, stick it on the roll call. If they're in 2 different places, you notify the outgoing platoon of where pay detail people are, because the platoon commander is concerned about safety. Safety, right? Who's working in the command? Don't you think cops want to know that before they roll up to Apple Bank that there's a cop doing pay detail there? So that's why the platoon commander prints it out, right? They staple to the roll call. They tell members going out where they're working, okay? If the platoon commander is not around, anybody above a lieutenant or above can do it. Okay, that's important to keep in mind for the test. When the ICO checks out pay detail, he prints out stuff and he looks at roll calls. He examines overtime sheets in a representative sampling because the ICO is concerned about discipline, not the daily pay detail. Daily pay detail from the pay detail system, that's the platoon commander because they're worried about safety. Where are these cops working? They're not on the roll call, so how am I outgoing sectors Adam through King supposed to know where these people are? By printing it out, going over it with the members of the command, where these people are. We got a cop doing the paid detail in Yankee Stadium. We got one at Banco Popular. That's it, 2 for the tour. They let the command, they let the tour outgoing tour know that, and then they put it on a roll call, okay? So the ICO, no. The ICO pulls roll calls, pulls paid detail authorization, and pulls overtime sheets to make sure that the cops are not double dipping. They're not changing their tour. Lest we forget, you are specifically disallowed from changing your tour specifically to accommodate paid detail. So every Wednesday you work Yankee Stadium and you're on the day tour. Every Wednesday you need to leave at 2 o'clock. So you're taking lost time, gray area. That's not changing your tour, that's taking lost time. But if you ordinarily start at 7 and now you come in every Wednesday at 5, specifically to go end a tour at 13:40, you are specifically disallowed in the patrol guide from doing that. So that is what the ICO looks at. The ICO takes a bunch of overtime slips, they print out a bunch of pay detail stuff, and they sit in their office and they verify pay detail. Not everybody, but it specifically says a representative sampling to see if people are scamming. Or that you're end a tour at 13:30, but you're on paid detail at the same time you're on overtime. Okay, that's very easily to get on an audit, very easy to catch on an audit, and that is the job of the ICO. So on test day, the minute they mention pay detail, ask yourself right away, is this a safety issue or is it an integrity issue? If it's a safety issue, platoon commander. It's an integrity issue, ICO. So when they say that they're pulling forms and reports, look in the body of the question. What are they trying to find out? Are they trying to find out that I want these cops to be safe and not be caught in a crossfire? I want my outgoing platoon to know where they are? Or are they saying, I accuse P.O. Jones of scamming, so let me have his pay detail reports, print it out today, go to the pay detail system, print out pay detail, I think he's working today. Let me see his overtime reports, let me see the roll call. That's the ICO looking to catch him scamming, or looking to catch him scamming, okay? So this is how you get it right on the exam. The minute they mention pay detail, ask yourself, is it safety or ICO stuff? Is it safety or are we trying to look somebody scamming? Right? Safety of the members, safety of the outgoing platoon, safety of the people doing pay detail, or are we trying to catch somebody scamming? Actor it is, right? Platoon commander or ICO. So let's just read it really quickly so we can get through it. Platoon commander, at the start of tour, access intranet to ascertain active pay detail locations, time of assignment within the precinct. Make an entry indicating results of inquiry into active pay detail locations, including time of assignment. On the roll call, print reference copy of pay detail assignment schedule and attach it to the roll call. Ensure MOS are aware of the time and locations. If there's no platoon commander, any lieutenant or above performing duty can do this. Okay? Any lieutenant or above performing duty. So ordinarily, you would not task the ICO to do this. You would not task the operations coordinator to do it. Why not? Because right in operations coordinator, it says no patrol, no desk. Well, you're not technically assigned to the desk. So you have to be able to think outside the box. If they make you Sergeant McGillicuddy on the desk and you need to have this printed out, you can go to the ops coordinator and say, Luke, can you do me a favor? That's not assigning him to the desk. Okay, so any lieutenant or above in the command. How about if all they give you is the XO? Lieutenant or above, the XO's walking around, XO's good. Cap, can you do me a favor? Print this out for me, okay? So be able to roll with the changes. Sergeant and below cannot do it, okay? So any lieutenant or above can do it. Integrity control officer, monthly, access intranet, ascertain pay detail activities of individual members assigned to the command, including times and locations. Roll call, select appropriate representative sampling. That phrase is important because it'll tell you how many do you need. What if it says on your exam, ICO, select 15 every month? Which of the following is the least correct? It doesn't say 15. It doesn't give you a number. It says select appropriate representative sampling and compare against roll call overtime records to ensure that there's no discrepancies. Include in command overtime self-inspection program. Okay? So important. We're going to do integrity control officer. Let's just take our first 10-minute break. I give 2 breaks. One about now, and then one when there's about a half hour left. Okay? So let's take our first 10-minute break.